Sophie Cunningham has officially taken over the WNBA summer, transforming into the league's ultimate it girl, the fearless blonde bombshell with a smile that hides a fighter's heart, the unapologetic trash-talking battler who plays with fire in her veins, the sidekick every superstar wishes they had, and Caitlin Clark's most loyal wingwoman in the fight for respect. And once again, Sophie is strapping on her battle armor, standing shoulder to shoulder with Caitlin, because apparently defending the most popular player in women's basketball has become her second full-time job. But here's the wild part. It's ridiculous that she even has to keep doing this. I mean, think about it. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's the face of the WNBA, the one who's packing arenas, breaking television ratings, and dragging this league into a new era of relevance. Yet the hate still keeps pouring in. So Sophie Cunningham just went completely nuclear, unloading a fiery defense of her friend, and now the haters are melting down. The critics are scrambling for cover, and the self-crowned podcast queen is on a mission to bury every single narrative that says Caitlin isn't the face of the league, and trust me, she didn't hold back for a single second. Because the moment Sophie's comments dropped, the WNBA world practically caught fire. Clips of her interview started bouncing across social media like a pinball, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all lighting up with the same message: Sophie Cunningham is done playing nice. On her podcast, she didn't sugarcoat a thing. She called out the nonsense head-on, saying she's tired of the fake narratives, tired of the goalposts moving, and tired of people acting like Caitlin Clark somehow hasn't earned her place as the face of the league. And Sophie didn't just speak in vague hints. She hit with precision, saying the hate has nothing to do with Caitlin's game and everything to do with jealousy, insecurity, and the uncomfortable reality that Caitlin's success exposes every flaw in how the league has been marketed for years. She pointed out how Caitlin is drawing sellout crowds in cities that never used to care about the WNBA, how her jersey sales shattered records before she even played her first pro game, and how every single network is suddenly willing to pay for women's basketball, not because the league finally did its job, but because one player made it impossible to ignore. And while she never mentioned names, the subtext was crystal clear. Sophie thinks too many players and media voices are underestimating Caitlin's impact, and she's here to make sure they never forget it. And let's be real, Sophie isn't just talking as some random teammate looking for a viral moment. She's lived it with Caitlin every step of the way this season. She's seen the sold-out arenas, the packed airports, the autograph lines that stretch for hours, and she's watched the same tired critics twist themselves into knots trying to discredit it all. Some say it's overhyped, some say it's just a college carryover, and some even have the nerve to act like Caitlin's just riding a wave of luck. Sophie shredded that narrative, reminding everyone that nobody accidentally becomes the most watched player in women's basketball history. She talked about Caitlin's insane work ethic, how she's in the gym before most people even wake up, and how she still studies game film like she's chasing a championship ring every single night. And Sophie didn't stop there. She dragged the league's PR machine for failing to fully capitalize on the moment, hinting that if Caitlin had been a certain type of safe media personality, the WNBA would have plastered her face on every billboard in America by now. But instead, Caitlin had to do it the hard way by winning fans one game at a time, by breaking record after record, and by forcing the league to acknowledge her whether they liked it or not. And that's when Sophie really turned the heat up, taking aim at the haters who've been running their mouths since Caitlin's first day in the league. She called out the petty elbows on the court, the eye rolls during interviews, and the cheap shots disguised as honest criticism. Sophie said point blank that this isn't just competition, it's personal for some of these players, and it's ugly. She reminded everyone of the viral moments where opposing teams celebrated knocking Caitlin to the floor like they just won a championship, the smug smiles after hard fouls, and the way some veterans seem more interested in making a statement against her than actually winning games. Sophie's tone made it clear she's done watching it happen. She said Caitlin's brought in more eyes, more sponsorship dollars, and more excitement than the WNBA has seen in decades. Yet instead of embracing it, too many are trying to tear her down. And Sophie's message was sharp. If you think you can bully Caitlin Clark out of being the face of the league, you're already too late, because she's not going anywhere. And the second that podcast clip hit the internet, the reaction was nuclear fans flooded social media, Clips were being shared faster than game highlights, and the hashtags were everywhere. Caitlin Clark's supporters were cheering Sophie like she just hit a game winner, calling her the realest teammate in the league. But the other side? Oh, they were furious. The anti-Caitlin crowd was foaming at the mouth, accusing Sophie of fanning the flames, of feeding into what they call the Caitlin Clark hype machine. WNBA Twitter was basically on fire, Instagram comment sections were a war zone, and even sports talk shows that normally ignore the league were suddenly debating Sophie's every word. Some analysts were calling her a hero. Others said she was just stirring the pot for clicks. But one thing was clear, Sophie Cunningham had blown the conversation wide open, and there was no putting this genie back in the bottle. And while all this chaos was erupting online, the WNBA itself stayed dead silent, which only made the whole thing worse. No statements, no clarifications, nothing to cool the fire, and that silence spoke louder than any press release ever could. It was like the league was just sitting back, watching the storm grow, letting the players take all the heat while corporate stayed cozy in the background. Fans started asking, why isn't the league defending its biggest star? Others pointed out that this wasn't just about Caitlin, it was about how the league treats players who speak up, especially when they challenge the old guard. And with Sophie going this hard for Caitlin, the spotlight was now blazing on the WNBA's politics, the double standards, and the silent power plays that have been brewing for years. This wasn't just a teammate defending a friend anymore. This was a shot fired in the middle of a battle for the league's future. And once Sophie's message hit the airwaves, the media war exploded overnight. Headlines were flying everywhere. Sports blogs, national news, even morning talk shows couldn't resist weighing in. Some painted Sophie as the fearless truth teller the WNBA desperately needs, the one player who refuses to play nice when her teammate's legacy is under attack. Others tried to spin it, saying she was just fanning the flames and making Caitlin an even bigger target. But here's the thing, every time they tried to drag Caitlin down, Sophie's defense only made her more popular. Social media was a frenzy of clips, edits, and fan-made tributes, showing the two as an unstoppable duo, a modern-day rebel alliance taking on the league's politics. The narrative had officially shifted. This wasn't just Caitlin Clark's fight anymore. It was Sophie and Caitlin versus the establishment, and fans were eating it up like the season's biggest blockbuster. Behind closed doors, the league was rattled, and I mean really rattled. Executives who usually brushed off player drama were suddenly holding emergency calls because Sophie's words weren't just some spicy podcast moment, they were a direct challenge to the WNBA's image machine. PR teams were scrambling, asking themselves, do we clap back? Do we ignore it? Do we try to spin it? Meanwhile, insiders say coaches from rival teams were grumbling that Sophie was fueling a media circus that could overshadow the actual season. But here's the kicker. Those same executives know exactly why this is happening. They know Caitlin Clark is their cash cow. They know Sophie is her fiercest ally. And they know going after either one could blow up in their faces. The tension was so thick you could slice it with a knife. And with every viral clip, every trending hashtag, Sophie and Caitlin were gaining more power, while the league's so-called control was slipping right through their fingers. And this is where it stops being just about one feud and starts looking like the opening shot in a full-on WNBA power struggle. Sophie and Caitlin aren't just two players making noise, they're the faces of a new movement. A movement that's not afraid to call out hypocrisy, not afraid to rattle the league's gatekeepers, and definitely not afraid to use their influence to force change. This isn't the WNBA of a few years ago where stars quietly played along. This is a new era where social media receipts get dropped like bombs, podcasts become battlegrounds, and loyalty is everything. Sophie is planting her flag and telling the world, if you come for Caitlin, you come for me. And fans are eating it up because it feels real, it feels raw, and it feels like the kind of thing that could either unite the league or rip it right down the middle. The league can either embrace this wave or get drowned by it, but one thing's for sure, Sophie just made it crystal clear. This fight is far from over. So here we are. Sophie Cunningham has gone from being Caitlin Clark's fierce teammate to becoming the league's loudest truth teller, the one player willing to risk it all to call out the nonsense and defend her friend, no matter the cost. The haters can spin it, the league can downplay it, but the reality is clear, this moment is bigger than a single soundbite, bigger than one rivalry. and it's got the entire WNBA fan base buzzing. Whether you love her or can't stand her, Sophie has made herself impossible to ignore, and in doing so, she's given Caitlin Clark one of the strongest allies in all of sports. But if history has taught us anything, it's that moments like this tend to explode into something much bigger. And with tensions in the league at an all-time high, the only question left is, are we watching the rise of a new WNBA power duo, or the start of a battle that could shake the league to its core?